All right, good morning, everyone. In this video, I'm going to go through a zyBooks exercise for CYB130. I copied this from zyBooks interface into VS Code. I'm starting with a code that was in zyBooks that is giving you a dictionary that starts a music library. So we've got two artists, Pink Floyd and Justin Bieber. Pink Floyd's got two albums listed, and within the album, it's got a list of songs. So you notice the songs are a list, but then in addition to the list of songs, it's got the year and whether it went platinum or not. Now the instructions want us to add commands for adding albums and songs and artists. So let's start by getting the user input. So let's get the user input, and I'm going to call this, hey, let's call it user input. This is going to equal input. Now, while the user input is not equal to exit, clean that up, what are we going to do? So if the user input equals, what does it want to do? So first we want to do is add. Or let's say if it's in add, and really I could have done something like too lower so that I could have just said, I want to look at this, put it in lowercase so that I don't have to worry about case sensitive. And I might do that. So let's see, and I've got a mistake here. So the instructions, this isn't like one of the end of chapter exercises that gives us very specific instructions and it has a checker script. So this has no checker script. I'm interpreting this way I feel like interpreting it. The book doesn't give me any information on how to do it, so I'm just going to do it how I want to do it. So if the user dot lower is in A or add, we'll do this. Before we do that, let's just say, oops, I collapsed it. Let's actually say if user input dot lower is in quit, or is in exit. We don't really need this, but I'm just going to put it here to say if it's in exit, don't even look any further. And really, we should never get there because of the while loop. Sorry, I'm still on my first cup of coffee. So it's in the while loop. Let me get rid of that. All right, so if it's in A or add, what are we going to do? So it's in A or add, so I'm going to call add artist. Add artist doesn't exist, so I'm going to create a step function called add artist. We don't have to use functions, but I'm choosing to, and I'm going to say pass. And as I work through this, I'll figure out what else I need. So we're going to add the artist, and then after adding the artist, we can add albums and songs. So it doesn't seem to have anything to delete, so I'll say album. My menus probably could have been better, but we'll get this. album. So let me actually change this. I'm going to say M or Muse. Or no, sorry. It's nice when they give you specific directions because then you can follow the directions, and we don't have those. All right. All right. All right, so I've kind of built the basic structure, and now we're going to work on various pieces here. So now we're going to say we're going to define add album. Pass. We're going to define add song. Pass. So now I've got these stub functions that don't do anything. So now we've got these stub functions. Let's start actually doing something. And now after we got all through the ifs, we're going to get another input. So user input equals input again, and say pick a selection. M for add musician. A for add album. S for add song. Notice how I put \ns in my prompt here. This is because it's going to be multi-line. We'll see this in a second. I'm going to copy that up in my first instance. So now this is everything that's in the while loop. And just for some validation, I want to, after each loop, let's print what our dictionary looks like. So we're going to make changes to the dictionary. We're only supporting adding, not deleting. There used to be a homework assignment where you would delete, add, and modify. When I first looked at this exercise, I was thinking that that was what this was doing, but this is just adding. We could expand on this example and delete also, but for now, I'm just going to record it without deleting, and maybe I'll do a follow-on recording later if there's a request. All right, so let's print music as a dictionary. All right, so I usually say we're not going to do prints and things inside of a function. In this case, I'm going to request inputs, and there is going to be some prompts inside the functions. So we add artists, and when we add the artist, I'm going to use the music dictionary. And there's other ways I could do this because dictionaries are mutable, but I don't want to go into that really right now. So we're just not going to. All right, so now I'm passing music into add artist. So we're passing this dictionary. I'm going to make a copy of it just for simplicity. So I'm making a copy of music. Now we want to add an artist. So let's get an input, say artist name equals input. What is the artist's all right. So now we want to add an artist. What if the artist already exists? So let's check to see if this already exists in music. All right, so if artist's name is in music copy, print, artist already exists. We don't want to write over anything with a new one. So otherwise, we're going to add the artist. So we're going to say music copy to the artist name. We're going to set it to be an empty dictionary. So I believe that's, yeah, we want it to be an empty dictionary because we haven't created any albums yet. So it's empty. So let's test this out. All right, so you see now in my debug window down here, add musician, add album, or add song. So I'm going to add a musician. What's the artist's name? Probably could have added a space in here, but let's say Pink Floyd, Floyd. Artist already exists. So since artist already exists, it didn't add it. And I also forgot to do a return. So I just notice how right here when it says none, this made me wonder, why am I seeing none? Because I should have, the music dictionary started with something and somehow it became none. That's because I didn't return anything from the function. So I set my music dictionary to nothing when I should have just sent it back as it was. So I broke this, but now if I want to add a musician because it's broken, and I do Pink Floyd, everything crashes because I actually broke it. So let's fix this. Return music. All right, so that'll fix this particular problem. Now let's run it again. So let's add a musician. Prove that Pink Floyd still exists. It already exists, and now I printed the dictionary so we can see everything. We could print this cleaner, but I just want to show what's in the dictionary. So now let's add musician, and now let's try Metallica. So now we added Metallica, and we see at the very end of our dictionary, we've got Metallica, but there's absolutely nothing in it. Now let's try a bad input. I'm going to say my input's K. It didn't like that. It just said pick a select. It didn't do anything. So let's do quit. Or what was I supposed to hit to get out? Exit. Let's add that to the prompt. All right. And let's add a space in here to clean that up a little bit. All right, so now we're adding a musician or artist. We got this working, and that creates an empty dictionary. Now we want to add an album. We need to get the name of the album. So this is going to be album name, or actually let's start with, if it's an album, we need to know what artist. We can either ask them for the artist name to add the album to, or we can give them a list of artists from which they can choose. I want to get a list of artists that they can pick from. So let's start with for K in music.keys. And let's actually pass music in. And I'm going to do the same thing where I want to copy it. Again, just because dictionaries are mutable, I'm making a copy. I don't want to deal with the concepts of changing an object that's passed by reference in this class. All right, so I'm going to look at the keys. And I want to say, let's print \T. So I want to say what artist, and this is your list of artists. And now I want to get select artist equal the input. So now we've got the input here to select the artist. If select artist, and I didn't make it much of a menu system where you really just pick one of them. Not in music copy, print this artist does not exist. All right, so if they do exist, what are we going to do? We do an else here. So artist does exist. So the artist exists. Now we need to add an album to the artist. So let's say input or album name equals input. What is the album name? So now we need the album name. And what else is in this dictionary? So we see we have the album name. We're not going to worry about what songs are on it. That we'll do that later. We care about the album year. Year equals input of if we want to do some error checking, we could do is this a digit? If you notice in this dictionary, it has all the album years are integers. So we should cast this to integer, but per what we learned in this week's session, we could say, check, is it digits? If not, ask them until it is. So maybe we'll do a while album year. Well, not album year that is digit. Print And then let's ask them again. I'm going to take the album year. We verified that it is a numeric, so let's change it. Take the integer of album year. Realistically, for something like this, it doesn't really much matter. We could have just left it as a string, but I want to be consistent with what they started. So now we got the album year. And next thing is it platinum, true or false? So let's ask them, is platinum equals input? Is it platinum? So now I'm going to say if is platinum at lower in Y or yes, then is platinum equals to true. I'm just going to basically wipe over what I already got. Otherwise, is platinum equals false. This is something that's both a plus and a minus of Python. At this point, this is a string, and then I'm just wiping over the string and making it a Boolean. And a Boolean is just only true or false. You can just dynamically change the type of variable. In some other languages, I would have to use a second variable that's predefined as a Boolean, and then I would destroy the original variable. But in Python, we don't need to do that. That's cool because it makes everything so much easier, but it also makes it so you can make small typos, small logical mistakes, and cause yourself a lot of problems. All right, so now I got all of this. So we've got everything we need to build this basic dictionary. Let's start with songs equals an empty list. We haven't added songs yet. So let's build this up. I'm going to create a temporary dictionary. And I'm going to set this temporary dictionary let's see, what's the structure? I might need to think this one through a little bit, but let's test this out and see if it works. So my temporary dictionary is going to start with songs will be songs. Songs will be songs. Year will be album year. And then platinum is going to go to is platinum. And pay attention to where I've got what I have in quotes and what I don't have in quotes. When we're building the dictionary, if it's not in quotes, it's because I'm referring to a variable. If it isn't in quotes, it's literal. So now I've got a temporary dictionary that I built up with everything I need. So now I can take this temporary dictionary and I should be able to say music copy to the select artist to the album name is going to equal this temporary dictionary. And now let's return music copy. Let's run it and see if I broke anything. All right, so I'm going to add an album. And I broke something. It says missing one required potential positional argument music. So when I set this up, I didn't actually pass music. It told me exactly where it was, line 80. But as soon as I saw the error, I remembered that I didn't do it. All right, so let's add an album now. What else do I have? So it's saying something's not iterable. I went to add album, 4K in keys. All right, so let's go find line 46. And let's put up some parentheses around keys here. And let's go ahead and run this again. All right, what artist? I can pick Pink Floyd or Justin Bieber. And I also remembered I didn't check and add album if the album already existed, like I did with artist. I'm not going to do that because this is pretty much the same logic that you used from add artist. It's just nested one layer in. So now, what's the name of the album? So we already have Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. Those are the only two albums I know. Let me Google Pink Floyd albums. And let's say Animals. Little formatting error here, but there's no grading script, so the fact that I didn't have a question mark and a space isn't a huge deal. And Animals was 1977. And did it go platinum? I'm not even going to look it up. I'll say no. All right, so now we have Pink Floyd, Animals, platinum false. I could try a couple validation things and probably break my script, but for the purposes of this, let's not try to break it. I do want to change this formatting where it says what is the year. So let's add a question mark and a space so it's a little cleaner. All right, now we need to add songs. So let's pass music, send it music as a parameter. Now we're going to take music, copy, and this is going to equal music. Let's make sure we pass it down here. Now we need to add a song to a specific album. We need to figure out what the album is. One way we could do it is we could just say, what's the album name? And then we could figure out what artist has that album. But there's no reason to say that you can't have the same album name with multiple artists. So we should go and ask who the artist name is. And then once we get the artist, then we should ask the album name. And then we should ask what the song is. So this is going to be a little tedious, but we got this. So let's copy this. Let's get us started. All right. So we got as far as getting the artist, and we got a valid artist. Now let's select album. Or let's build this up. So with print what album. I want to use very similar logic. Copy this and then make a few changes. So we want to go in music copy, and then we want to specifically look at the select artist. You've already selected the artist. Now we want to see what, and we're going to take the variable for the artist and look at the dictionary for the variable for the artist. And I don't want to use K. I guess I can use K again, but because this is not iterating inside of this, it's not nested. So now we're going to look through the artists, and now let's select album. So now we should have asking them for the album, and we could do something similar of checking to see if the album exists already. We can check if the song exists. Again, I'm just going to leave that part out. We're just going to select it, and I'm not going to do any input validation at this point. We're just going to select the album, and now we've got an album name, we've got an artist name. Now let's get, I'm going to take current songs equals music copy, select artist, the select album, the songs. There's other, and this, notice how it gave me a squiggly under here? This is because it's not defined, because these are variables. I'm getting the artist, I'm getting the album, but now I actually want this literal, string literal. This key is specifically the key called song, so it should have been in quotes. And it says music copy is not defined, another squiggle, that I have had several squiggles here and I didn't catch it. That's because I made a typo right here in line 72. So add an I in there and these squiggles all go away. This is an advantage of using a real IDE, a real integrated development environment over things like zyBooks. It helps you out by helping you find these typos. I could do all this stuff in place, but I didn't want to. I pulled this out into another list. So I could check to see if the song's in the list already. And maybe I'll go ahead and do that piece, but there's some things I'm not going to do. So let's get the name of the song. So input, or the song, equals input. What is the name of the song? Question mark space. Now, if the song is in current songs, print song is already listed. If it doesn't exist, let's add it. So because it doesn't exist, we're going to take current songs.append the song. If you want to overachieve, we can alphabetize them or something, but don't need to. All right, and now we have current songs.append the song. And now because we made a change, we added something, and this is in this temporary list. I'm going to rebuild the dictionary. Again, you don't necessarily need to do this, but I like to spell things out for an introductory class. So music copy. To the select artist. So this is the artist you selected, it's a variable. To the select album, the album you picked. To the songs. And I'm just going to replace the key for songs with current songs. And now we're going to return music copy. Again, this isn't extremely efficient because I'm making copies and returning the copies when I could be doing certain replacements in its current memory location, but I think this is a little cleaner looking. So let's run it and see what typos I made today. So let's add a song. All right. I hit add a song and it just immediately jumped back and said, it gave me my menu. So it didn't like my menu option here. Why not? And I just noticed another error I made, but that shouldn't cause this mistake. And another thing to remember is Python, everything is case sensitive. So if you make an album name and it's the same spelling, but you did different capitalizations, it's a totally different thing. All right, so what is the year? I thought I fixed this. Maybe not. All right, I fixed it when we're iterating to make sure you got a number, but I didn't fix it up here. All right, and now what is wrong with song? All right, so we're going to say what's the artist? The artist is Pink Floyd. What's the album? The album is The Wall. What's the name of the song? All right, and so what songs did they already have in this dictionary? So we have Another Brick in the Wall, Mother, and Hey You. So let's make this simple. Let's say, oops, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. So now when we look at this dictionary, let's see, we have Pink Floyd, The Wall, and we have Another Brick in the Wall, Mother, Hey You, and Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. So it added it. And I think that's all I really want to cover in this demo. I'll post this to YouTube. If you have further questions, you want to add more error, you want me to go through adding more error checking, modifications, deleting, improve the menu system, I can post that later. Just let me know. So with that, I'm going to turn off my recording.